Inside the floor of the waiting room is the same worn patchwork of yellow and cream colored tiles. I walked across many times as a college student, traveling back and forth from school to home for the holidays. Sunlight still slants down through the windows high up near the ceilings, just as it did back then. And though they now sit together instead of separately, there are still many more black men and women than whites lined up at the ticket counter and resting in the rows of hard plastic seats. No, that hasn't changed a bit, a man named Joe Kavanaugh told me. When I visited this terminal not long ago, and we stood looking at the room full of travelers, mostly elders, mostly elderly couples, and young soldiers were in uniform. If it wasn't for black people, Mr. Kavanaugh said with a little smile, Greyhound wouldn't have no business. Mr. Kavanaugh was black. I met him the winter before the last in the terminal baggage handling area, where he works 5 days a week loading luggage, just as he did back in 1961. Mr. Kavanaugh is 69 years old, and he's been working for Greyhound since he was 23 years old. He was on the job that Sunday in 1961 when a crowd of Klansmen gathered in this terminal to wait for the bus full of Freedom Riders scheduled to arrive from Atlanta, the bus that never made it because it was bombed up in Anniston. Thank you. So I'll stop there. It's more, but it's an awesome book. So I'm gonna stop there due to time.
Right, and I'll be following up. Hi everyone, my name is Sandra Riley. I teach in the English department. Can everyone hear me okay? Okay, good. I've got nods. Wonderful. As I speak out into the ether. So today I'm going to read some June Jordan. June Jordan was a Jamaican American poet. She wrote a lot of protest poetry as well, but I've chosen one of her love poems. I'm total sap. Valentine's Day is my absolute favorite holiday, regardless of my relationship status. So with that, I have Poem for My Love by June Jordan. How do we come to be here next to each other in the night? Where are the stars that show us to our love? Inevitable. Outside the leaves flame, usual in darkness, and the rain falls cool and blessed on the holy flesh. The black men waiting on the corner for a womanly mirage. I am amazed by peace. It is this possibility of you asleep and breathing in the quiet air. And that's it.
All right, the next person up to read is Journey Marie Parker. Thank you so much, Sandra, for reading. It was beautiful. Journey, if you are here, it will be your turn, but if not, Rob, you are next.
Remember your name, type all that first.
Hi, my name is Journey Parker, and the title of the poem is Rooting for Each Other by Cleo Way. And I picked this poem because I'm praying for you. Do you think Mother Nature cares that any of her beautiful flowers grow in any array of shades and sizes, or that one grows in this direction and one grows in that direction? No, she puts all of them in her magnificent garden so they may be together and root for each other.
Hi, everyone. My name is Rob Ryder, and today I'm reading Fisk, the Class of 1964 by Nikki Giovanni. Fisk was a wonderful institution of empowerment and community for the author, Nikki Giovanni, and I kind of thought of it as in a similar way to Columbus State for us. It's empowering us and it's moving us forward with the great relationships we form and the people we meet there. So this is Fisk, the class of 1964 by Nikki Giovanni. We came in the fall on segregated buses and segregated trains, very few on airplanes, most by mom and dad, to the historic campus of W.E.B. Du Bois, James Weldon, John Hope Franklin, inspired by the Jubilee Singers, poeticized by Dr. Leslie M. Collins and the great Robert Hayden, Frenched into the legendary M. Jean Cotton, and maybe even jazzed by novelist, librarian Arna Bontemp's friend, Langston Hughes. We gathered in the chapel to pick officers and leaders. We gathered on the steps for the classic class photo. We gathered in the room for the photo of children of Fiskites. And some of us were grandchildren. J.B. Watson, class of 1905. We came, despite what some deans thought, to sit in, to march, to protest, to change the world we were living in, to prove our mantle to ourselves, if no one else. We were brave like Diane Nash and John Lewis. We were foolish like some others. We were challenging and we were challenged. We were Fisk, 102 years after the beginning of the Civil War. We were early entrants, we were walk-ons, we were transfers, we were faculty kids, we were Fisk. Our legacy was not just the land that Fisk provided for Meharry Medical College and Pearl High. Our legacy was not just Jubilee Hall, which was earned by the leadership of Ella Shepherd and those 8 brave men and women who followed her to London. Our legacy is not only that the Queen, asking, "Where do you come from?" and hearing, "Nashville, ma'am," responded, "Why, that must be a musical city." No, our legacy is that Fisk creatively conceived against the grain, educating men and women together in a classical education. We were not practical. We were not just job seekers. We stood for the ideal of excellence. We are Fisk, and we fulfill that legacy by continuing to be the golden sons and daughters of the future, ever on the altar. Thank you.
My name is Emma Easton, and I teach in the Humanities Department in the Developmental Ed Department. And I'm also the director of the Gospel Vocal Ensemble of Columbus State Community College. I am reading Mother to Son by Langston Hughes. And I chose this piece because it's relatable to the relationship that I have with my own sons, as well as to some of my previous struggles. Well, son, I'll tell you, life for me ain't been no crystal stair. It's had tacks in it and splinters and the boards torn up and places with no carpet on the floor, bare. But all the time, I's been a climbing on and reaching landings, and I've been turning corners and sometimes going in the dark where there ain't been no light. So boy, don't you turn back. Don't you sit down on the steps, 'cause you find it's kind of hard. Don't you fall now, for I's still going, honey. I's still climbing, and life for me ain't been no crystal stair. Thank you.
Ooh, that was a powerful reading. Thank you so much. The next person to read is Lisa Phillips. Lisa, if you are ready to read, you may. If Lisa is not here, then Susan, you may begin.
Is Lisa here? Is Lisa here?
I don't think that Lisa's here right now, so Sue, you may begin whenever you're ready.
Hi. The poem that I chose is Worsonshire's Home. Worsonshire was born in, I want to check and make sure. She was born in Kenya, and her parents are Somali, and she lives in London. And so I know that she doesn't really count as a African American poet. However, this poem I feel is so important and speaks so much to things that really matter in America right now, in the US. So I'm just gonna keep reading it at every opportunity that I can, um, because I feel like I, tr- I feel like it gives us empathy that for immigrants and for refugees, and my children are the grandchildren of refugees, so it really matters a lot. Anyway, it's called Home by Worsonshire, and there's a word in it that starts with N that I feel like belongs in my mouth ever. So when I get to that, I'm just gonna go like this. Okay. Home. No one leaves home unless home is the mouth of a shark. You only run for the border when you see the whole city running as well. Your neighbors running faster than you, breath bloody in their throats, and the boy who went to school with you and kissed you dizzy behind the old tin factory is holding a gun bigger than his body. You only leave home when home won't let you stay. No one leaves home unless home chases you, fire under feet, hot blood in your belly. It's not something you ever thought of doing until the blade burnt threats into your neck. And even then, you carried the anthem under your breath, only tearing up your passport in the airport bathroom, sobbing as each mouthful of paper made it clear that you wouldn't be going back. You have to understand. No one puts their children in a boat unless the water is safer than the land. No one burns their palms under trains beneath carriages. No one spends days and nights in the stomach of a truck feeding on newspaper unless the miles traveled means something more than the journey. No one crawls under fences. No one wants to be beaten, pitied. No one chooses refugee camps or strip searches where your body is left aching, or prison because prison is safer than a city of fire, and one prison guard in the night is better than a truckload of men who look like your father. No one could take it. No one could stomach it. No one has skin thick enough. The go home Blacks, refugees, dirty immigrants, asylum seekers sucking our country dry with their hands out. They smell strange, savage, messed up their country, and now they want to mess up ours. How do the words, the dirty looks roll off your backs because maybe the blow is softer than a limb torn off, or the words are more tender than 14 men between your legs, or the insults are easier to swallow than rubble, than bone, than your child body in pieces. I want to go home, but home is the mouth of a shark. Home is the barrel of a gun, and no one would leave home unless home chased you to the shore, unless home told you to quicken your legs, leave your clothes behind, crawl through the desert, wade through the oceans, drown, save, be hunger, beg, forget pride. Your survival is more important. No one leaves home until home is a sweaty voice in your ear saying, leave, run away from me now. I don't know what I've become, but I know that anywhere is safer than here. Thank you. I'm gonna turn my mic off.
All right, thank you so much, Sue. That was wonderful. If our next reader, Sean, could begin, that would be lovely. If Sean is not here, then, oh, Sean is here. Hi, how are you?
Hey, how's it going? My name's Sean Beckering. I'm a student at Columbus State. I've chosen to read Abolition Democracy, Beyond Empire, Prisons, and Torture. The book consists of various interviews with that of Angela Davis and Eduardo Mendieta during 2004, around the time the Abu Ghraib torture photographs were broadcast on CBS News. In addition to the recent 13th anniversary of your autobiography, we are also celebrating 50 plus years of Brown versus Board of Education. Do you think that the forces of Black integration, the forces of civil rights, have been betrayed and somehow rolled back by the past 2 decades of Rehnquist serving as the Reagan-appointed Chief Justice? And of course, he's talking about William Rehnquist, who probably set back equality and human rights more than any other judge of his generation. And she replies, "The promise of those struggles has been betrayed. I don't think it is helpful to assume that an agenda that gets established at one point in history will forever claim success on the basis of its initial victories. It is misleading to assume that this success will be enduring, that it will survive all of the challenges and mutations of the future. The civil rights movement managed to bring about enormous political shifts, which opened doors to people previously excluded from government, corporations, education, housing, etc. However, an exclusively civil rights approach, as even Dr. King recognized before he died, cannot by itself eliminate structural racism. What the civil rights movement did, it seems to me, was to create a new terrain for asking new questions and moving in new directions. The assumption that the placement of Black people like Colin Powell and Condoleezza Rice in the heart of government would mean progress for the entire community was clearly fallacious. In this, there were no guarantees, to borrow from Stuart Hall. The civil rights movement demanded access, and access has been granted to some. The challenge of the 21st century is not to demand equal opportunity to participate in the machinery of oppression. Rather, it is to identify and dismantle those structures in which racism continues to be embedded. This is the only way the promise of freedom can be extended to masses of people. And thank you for letting me be a part of this. I really appreciate it.
Good afternoon or good morning, everybody. My name is Dana, and I'm going to be reading from Terry McMillan, one of her novels. Terry McMillan is a wonderful author that I've been reading, I guess since I was a teenager. So absolutely love her work. I love the fact that she writes in the voice of women, focusing on the sisterhood of women and just talking about experiences of women, okay? So here's a segment. I dial Lovey's number, which is what she's always preferred to be called rather than Mama. When she answers, her voice is barely audible. Lovey? Yes, this is me. Who's this? At first, I think she's kidding. Who does it sound like? I ain't got time for games, so spit it out before I hang up this phone. It's me, Marilyn, Lovey. Then why didn't you say so? What can I do for you? I'm at my doctor's office and she wants to know how old you were when you went through the change. That's a very personal subject, Marilyn, and a very private matter. Like I said, it's personal and private. So I walk back up the stairs and sit down inside the waiting room where 2 other women are now sitting. I near forgotten I was even in a doctor's office when the nurse or whoever she's called pokes her head in through the door and says, Marilyn, would you like to come with me? I want to say, no, I just came here to read magazines for an hour since I have nothing else to do, but I just follow her. Let's get your weight, she says. Let's not, I say. Oh, it's not that bad, she says. I don't know what that perfume she's wearing is, but it smells like gasoline. Why is it that people who wear cheap perfume always have to slather it on? So what brings you here today, Marilyn? Can't she read? I'm not repeating it, not without screaming. So I say as calmly as I can, well, Dr. Hilton asked if I could come in today so she could explain the results of my blood test. She opens a brown folder and flips it open. And indeed, that's indeed what I see here. Does it show my hormone levels? Yes, it does. Am I in the early stages of menopause? I'll let the doctor explain when she comes in. Let's get your blood pressure and temperature, she says, wrapping that padded thing tighter than usual around my arm. and sticking the disposable thermometer under my tongue as if she's really trying to shut me up. When was your last menstrual cycle? I didn't have one in January. I'm happy to say, and I'm due again in 2 weeks, but good riddance, I say, holding on to the tip of the thermometer. And that date was Christmas. Marilyn, yes, may I come in? Sure, I say, and sit up like a board is behind my back. How are you these days, Marilyn? So, I say. I like your new office, thanks. She looks good too good, like she's had work done. But to that I say, right on. Well, let's see here. She sighs, flipping through my chart, and then she just closes it. How far into it am I? Well, that depends. On what? I thought you said blood tests would show my hormone levels. It does indeed. Are they high or low? Well, Marilyn, I'm not sure how you're going to feel about numbers. What does that mean? Well, the levels indicate you're probably pregnant. I know I didn't hear her right. I couldn't possibly have heard her say the words pregnant. What did you just say? That's what the tests say. You can't really be serious. Well, when you told the lab that you missed your last period, they automatically did a test and checked your hormone levels. I don't believe this. So I take it this isn't good news for you then, Marilyn. Pregnant, I blurt out just to hear myself say it. How pregnant? I can't tell you based on the test, but probably about 6 or 7 weeks. 6 or 7 weeks, I whisper and realize I've been tapping the base of this metal exam table with the heels of both feet, which I can't seem to stop until I place both palms on my kneecaps and press down. I take a few deep breaths and think of Trudy of all people. Wait a minute, okay, just wait. I thought I was supposed to be going through menopause. That's what I came here for. You probably were, Marilyn, but sometimes there's one last hurrah. Hurrah, I sigh, but I'm absolutely positive that she knows I'm not waiting for a response. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lakin Stokes, and this is my first time reading at the African American Read and Chain. Thanks for letting me come, Professor Lyons Robinson. Today I'm going to read a poem by Georgia Douglas Johnson. It's called The Ordeal. I picked this poem because it resonates very closely to the way that I feel about things that are happening right now. Ho, my brother, pass me not by so scornfully. I'm doing this living of being Black. Perhaps I bear your own life pack. And heavy, heavy is the load that bends my body to the road. But I've kept a smile for fate. I neither cry, nor cringe, nor hate. Intrepidly, I strive to bear this handicap the planets wear. The maker's imprint, and with mine, I swing into the rhythmic line. I ask only for destiny, mine, not thine. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rick Hyatt, and my reading is Attitude is Everything by Keith Farrell. It's not a poem, but it's an opportunity to look at a reading that could help build us from a positive perspective. It talks about 10 steps that we can take in order to transform our attitude in such a way that it builds lifelong in dreams and requirements. So step number 1, understand the power of attitude. Your attitude is a power tool for positive action. It inherently interwoven in everything you do. It's your most priceless possession. The good news is you don't have to buy it, but you do have to develop it. In the first chapter, you will discover what attitude is, the power of attitude, and how your attitude reflects you. You learn to recognize that you can control your destiny by learning the 4 things you need to do to sustain a positive attitude. Step number 2, choose to take the charge of your life. To transform your attitude to action, you must accept responsibility for what goes on inside your mind by monitoring your internal dialogue. We look at the power of choice and how your choices determine your happiness and affects your success. Step number 3, identify through self-awareness the attitudes that hold you back or propel you forward. By practicing self-awareness, you learn the 3 types of bad attitudes. You discover how to access your present day attitude by identifying the things that may be holding you back and find the attitude that may propel you forward. Step number 4, refrain from bad attitude. An attitude of anger can transform into an attitude of gratitude and forgiveness by shifting your perspective. You will discover the power of self-forgiveness, which allows you to forgive others. You will also learn how to recognize and rid yourself of attitude that may identify a positive approach. Step number 5, find your purpose and passion. Once you determine what has been holding you back, it's time to take a look at and analyze where you go from there. Understand the importance of living your life with purpose and passion. Having a personal vision is critical to achieving success. You will consider which attitudes are conducive to goal setting and which ones can spoil the process. And finally, I will explain the strategy of creating a personal and professional life plan. Step number 6, be proactive. In this step, you will learn to prepare yourself for those times when challenging circumstances threaten to provoke negative attitudes that can hinder your plans and throw you off course en route to your goals and dreams. You will discover that even with a positive attitude, purpose, and passion, life is never without challenges, disappointments, setbacks, and problems. By developing a proactive approach to life, you will become better prepared to handle the hazards that may come your way. Step number 7, discover how to motivate yourself. You will discover the keys to self-motivation by making use of the toolkit. It includes affirmation, visualization, attitude talk, positive greetings, enthusiasm, spiritual empowerment, humor, and exercise. Step number 8, build supportive relationships. Nobody makes it alone in this world. We all need supportive relationships to get through challenging times. I will help you identify your A-team. Those people who will help fight your battle for you, to help fight off negative attitudes and build positive ones. To build an A-team, you first have to develop an attitude that will make others want to support you. I'll show you how to build a long-term mutual beneficial relationship by networking, shared vision, and shared values. Step number 9, see change as an opportunity. One of the greatest challenges to a positive attitude is change, whether it's a change in jobs, a change in relationship, or a change in economic status. We look at the benefits of adopting a whatever it takes mindset when confronted by change. And finally, step number 10, leave a lasting legacy. Sometimes we forget that the greatest things we can do to build a healthy attitude is to get involved in something greater than ourselves. In step 10, you learn the benefits of planting positive seeds. This includes seeds of hope, encouragement, faith, and love. In this final step, you discover how you can leave a lasting legacy by making a mark that cannot be erased by man or anyone. You will be ready to transcend yourself and reach out to many in different lives of your family, friends, and community. Although the process I've mapped out is not easy, I have broken it into small bites of information and steps. Remember, this is an investment in you. The light is green, so go. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Lisa Phillips, and I'm reading For My People by Margaret Walker. For my people everywhere, singing their slave songs repeatedly, their dirges and their ditties, and their blues and jubilees, praying their prayers nightly to an unknown God, bending their knees humbly to unseen power. For my people lending their strength to the years, to the gone years, and the now years, and the maybe years, washing, ironing, cooking, scrubbing, sewing, mending, hoeing, plowing, digging, planting, pruning, patching, dragging along, never gaining, never reaping, never knowing, and never understanding. For my playmates in the clay and dust and sand of Alabama, backyards playing, baptizing and preaching, and doctor and jail, and soldier and school, and mama and cooking, and playhouse, and concert, and store, and Miss Chomby, and hair, and company. For the cramped, bewildered years, we went to school to learn how the reasons why and the answers to and the people who and the places where and the days when, in memory of bitter hours when we discovered we were Black and poor and small and different, and nobody wondered and nobody understood. For the boys and girls who grew in spite of these things to be man and woman, to laugh and dance and sing and play and drink their wine and religion and success, to marry their playmates and bear children and then die of consumption and anemia and lynching. For my people thronging 47th Street in Chicago and Lenox Avenue in New York and Rampart Street in New Orleans, lost, disinherited, disposed, and happy people filling the cabarets and the taverns and other people's pockets, needing bread and shoes and milk and land and money and something all our own. For my people walking blindly, spreading joy, losing time, being lazy, sleeping when hungry, shouting when burdened, drinking when hopeless, tied and shackled, entangled among ourselves by unseen creatures who tower over us omnisciently and laugh. For my people blundering and groping and floundering in the dark of churches and schools and clubs and societies, associations and councils and committees and conventions, distressed and disturbed and deceived and devoured by money-hungry, glory-craving leeches, preyed on by facile force of state and fad and novelty by false prophet and holy believer. For my people standing, staring, trying to fashion a better way from the confusion, from hypocrisy and misunderstanding, trying to fashion a world that will hold all the people, all the faces, all the Adams and Eves, and their countless generations. Let a new earth arise. Let another world be born. Let a bloody peace be written in the sky. Let a second generation full of courage issue forth. Let people loving freedom come to growth. Let a beauty full of healing and strength of a final clenching be the pulsing in our spirits and our blood. Let the marital song be written. Let the dirges disappear. Let a race of men now rise and take control.
Good afternoon. My name is Terrence Brooks, and I will be reading from For Colored Boys Who Have Considered Suicide When the Rainbow Is Still Not Enough. The piece I'm reading is When I Dare to Be Powerful by Keith Boykin. It began with a white-haired white woman and a white windbreaker. While the four of us plotted our conspiracy, the grandma in slacks approached us awkwardly in the hotel lobby. It's not every day that an older white woman feels comfortable enough to engage a group of Black men, so I turned to greet her. Can I help you with something? I asked. Are you folks gay rights? She said. I looked at her with a transparent expression of bewilderment, as though my brain could not allow me to process the illogical syntactic construction that reduced a group of humans to a cause in which they believed. I responded tentatively to correct her. We support the idea of equal rights for gays and lesbians, if that's what you mean. Well, I just want you to know it's wrong, she blurted out. Again, my face must have given away a sense of ire because she moved back a few steps as though I had threatened her. But she had been the one to initiate the conversation, and the look on my face was more of confusion than kind of confrontation. What she was doing was almost inconceivable to me. Did this old white woman really just come up to a group of Black men who were minding their own business just to tell us that we were wrong? This isn't happening, I thought to myself. What do you mean is wrong? I asked, knowing full well what she meant, but wanting her to say it out loud. Homosexuality, she shot back. God says it's wrong. Oh, really? When did he say that? It's in the Bible. Really? And what did Jesus say about homosexuality? I asked. It's wrong, she repeated. Actually, Jesus never mentioned anything about homosexuality anywhere in the Bible, I responded. And then I almost became furious with my litany of biblical quotations and citations to challenge everything she thought she knew. She quickly retreated down the hallway towards the reception desk. I jumped out from my seat and followed her, demanding that she respond. How dare you come over and challenge us and not have the courage, the knowledge, or the moral integrity to defend your viewpoint, I said. She kept walking, promised to pray for me, and turned away. I've heard that "I pray for you" line many times before from religious critics, and I knew exactly what it means. So I refused to let her go without the opportunity for dialogue. I positioned myself in front of her, dropped to my knees, and clasped my hands together in prayer, just as I noticed a seal on her jacket for a conservative group called Concerned Women for America. I asked her to join me in prayer for God's love. She rolled her eyes and walked away while I continued my theatrical stunt on my knees in front of the concierge. I don't imagine I changed her mind about gay rights by creating a scene in the hotel lobby, but at least she knows she can't go around interjecting herself into other people's business and expecting them not to respond. Maybe next time she'll plan to open her mouth and criticize someone she didn't know. She might think twice about it. And besides, our conversation was nothing to do about what she thought we were discussing. We were not focused on the mainstream gay rights struggle that day. We were simply trying to get our own community of African Americans to acknowledge our existence. But sometimes you have to fight on several fronts at once. It was a few weeks before the Million Man March in 1995, and we had been plotting details to assemble an openly gay contingent in the historic but controversial all-male walk. The march was being organized by Minister Louis Farrakhan and of the Nation of Islam, and the five of us were meeting to draw up plans to get hundreds of Black same-gender loving men to join our ranks. We decided at our hotel meeting to hold our own rally before the official march, and I called upon some of my old friends to help lend their credibility to our gathering. On the morning of the march, I thought of that old woman in the hotel lobby as my trembling hand scribbled 9 words on a poster board in the brisk air at our pre-march rally. Black by birth, gay by God, proud by choice. Despite our best efforts to get an accurate head count for the event in advance, we were not really sure if anyone would attend our rally. It was a lot easier to get people to say that they would attend than to get them to show up. As the leader of the group, I arrived early, secretly hoping for a huge crowd to surprise me, but only a handful of early birds, reporters, and photographers milled around. A couple of my fellow organizers expressed concern about the turnout, so I reassured them that the crowd would come once we got started. In reality, I had no idea if anyone would show up. A lot of people had personally promised me that they would attend, but I had learned from my life experiences that it's a lot easier for people to lie than to disappoint you. One of the organizers set up the podium with a microphone, while another unfurled a huge Black banner he had designed himself to announce our presence at the event as Black gay men. There was no way to hide our identities without that banner, behind that banner. We were out for the good and everyone knew it. Meanwhile, a third organizer was distributing stickers with rainbow colored images of the continent of Africa. I knew the sticker would be controversial, but I affixed it to my trench coat I wore over my favorite suit. A few minutes after our scheduled time arrived, the crowd swelled to several dozens, and the speaker began to fire up the participants. Derek Bell, a longtime civil rights activist who was my former law school professor, spoke to express his support as a straight ally. Kenneth Reeves, the Black openly gay mayor of Cambridge, Massachusetts, delivered a speech that only a gifted politician could deliver. Phil Wilson, the founder of the National Black Lesbian and Gay Leadership Forum, spoke out. The entire rally had been his idea from the beginning, but the responsibility to finish the event was left to me as the new executive director for Phil's organization. I was supposed to rally the troops and then lead the crowd onto the march on the mall. By the time I took the podium, our numbers had grown to several hundred, and we were feeling much more confident about our mission. Still, we wondered if most of the participants had only come to the rally or if they would follow us to the march on the mall. We would only find out once we started marching. We had no clear vision how the day would unfold after we left the rally and no idea how we would be received. Uncertain of what might lie ahead, I summoned a few words I hoped would inspire the crowd and ended the event with a call to join me in the 15-minute procession to the larger assembly on the Capitol Mall. I was acting on faith, remembering a lesson I had learned a few years before, but others were now learning it as well. It came from my favorite quotation of Audre Lorde. When I dare to be powerful, to use my strength in the service of my vision, then it becomes less and less important whether I am afraid.
Hello, everyone. I am Royce Carpenter, and the poem I'm going to read is called The Ebon Venus by Lewis Howard Latimer. And the poem is very short, so I want to talk to you a little bit about Lewis Howard Latimer that I had never heard of until Robin recommended him to me. So I wanted to look him up and see something about him. Now, keep in mind, this poem was written in 1890. His parents were runaway slaves. And when they went to another state, somebody recognized his father, and then he went on trial, right, for being a runaway slave. And Frederick Douglass was one of his legal counselors, right? So that in itself was magnificent. So anyway, later, if you all know about the Dred Scott case, the Supreme Court case that said that, in a nutshell, said that the Constitution was not written with Black people in mind, and Black people were not able to reap the benefits of the Constitution. So that case was decided in 1857, and he wrote this in 1890, right? And had a strong sense of self during the time when Black people were called inhumane, basically. So I wanted to say all that before I read this short little poem. It's fascinating to me. So here we go with The Ebon Venus. So let others boast of maidens fair, of eyes of blue and golden hair. My heart, like a needle ever true, turns to the maid of ebon hue. I love her form of matchless grace, the beauty, the dark brown beauty of her face, her lips that speak of love's delight, her eyes that gleam as stars at night. O'er marble, Venus, let them rage, who set the fashions of the age, each to his taste, but as for me, my Venus shall be ebony.
Hi, everybody. My name is Catherine Studer. I teach in the English department. And I wanted to share one of my favorite poems by Rudy Francisco. And I guess I chose this because it's just a reality. It touches on something, everybody's aware of that we're hearing in the news every day. And it just kind of has you stop for a moment and think about it differently. So when they say he is Black, when they say he is Black, when they say he is unarmed, when they say he was killed, when they say the officer's name, when they show his face, when the system licks his fingers clean, when they say there is no crime underneath his fingernails, you realize the phrase, life is short, sounds a little different when you are being hunted. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Carla Reed, and I work in the Cashiers and Student Accounting Office. The book I'm reading from is by Maya Angelou, and it's called Letter to My Daughter. I love this book, first of all, because Maya Angelou didn't have any natural daughters. On the back, she says, I gave birth to one child, a son, but I have thousands of daughters. You are Black and white, Jewish and Muslim, Asian, Spanish speaking, Native American, and Aleut. You are fat and thin and pretty and plain, gay and straight, educated and unlettered, and I am speaking to you all. Here's my offering to you. The selection that I chose is called Home. There's many different selections in here that I hope that you all will consider. The reason I'm really attracted to this piece right now is because I think I found that this is a good time for us being at home in this pandemic to journal our thoughts. The written word is so powerful and it lasts way after you're gone. As you know, Maya's been gone for a while, but her words still have such power and meaning. So I want to encourage you guys to journal, to write about what's going on now, the things that we are living through, and your thoughts about the time, so that your writings and musings can be read later on. Home. I was born in St. Louis, Missouri. From the age of 3, I grew up in Stamps, Arkansas, with my paternal grandmother, Annie Henderson, and my father's brother, Uncle Willie, and my only sibling, my brother, Bailey. At 13, I joined my mother in San Francisco. Later, I studied in New York City. Throughout the years, I have lived in Paris, Cairo, West Africa, and all over the United States. Those are facts, but facts to a child are merely words to memorize. My name is Johnny Thomas. My address is 220 Center Street. All facts, which have little to do with the child's truth. My real growing up world in Stamps was a continual struggle against a condition of surrender. Surrender first to the grown-up human beings who I saw every day, all Black and all very, very large. Then submission to the idea that Black people were inferior to white people who I rarely saw. Without knowing why exactly, I did not believe that I was inferior to anyone except maybe my brother. I knew I was smart, but I also knew that Bailey was smarter. Maybe because he reminded me often and even suggested that maybe he was the smartest person in the world. He came to that decision when he was 9 years old. The South in general, and Stamps, Arkansas in particular, had had hundreds of years experience in demoting even large adult Blacks to psychological dwarfs. Poor white children had the license to address lauded and older Blacks by their first names or by any name they could create. Thomas Wolfe warned in the title of America's great novel that you can't go home again. I enjoyed the book, but I never agreed with the title. I believe that one can never leave home. I believe that one carries the shadows, the dreams, the fears, and the dragons of home under one's skin, at the extreme corners of one's eyes, and possibly in the gristle of their earlobe. Home is that youthful region where a child is the only real living inhabitant. Parents, siblings, and neighbors are mysterious apparitions who come, go, and do strange, unfathomable things in and around the child, the region's only enfranchised citizen. Geography, as such, has little meaning to the child. If one grows up in the Southwest, the desert and open skies are natural. New York, with the elevators and subway rumble and millions of people, and Southeast Florida, with its palm trees and sun and beasts, are to the child of those regions the way the outer world is, has been, and will always be. Since the child cannot
Your mic went off, Miss Carla.
Thank you. I am convinced that most people do not grow up. We find parking spaces and honor our credit cards. We marry and dare to have children and call that growing up. I think what we do is mostly grow old. We carry accumulation of years in our bodies and on our faces, but generally our real selves, the children inside, are still innocent and shy as magnolias. We may act sophisticated and worldly, but I believe we feel safest when we go inside ourselves and find home, a place where we belong and maybe the only place we really do. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Steve Kazmarek, and I'm a professor in the English department. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to read today. In a moment, I'm going to read Bible Defense of Slavery by Frances Ellen Watkins Harper. Many of us are familiar with her work, but for those who aren't, I'd like to give a little bit of background. She was born in 1825 to free parents in Baltimore at age 3, and then raised by her aunt and uncle. She later moved to Ohio and taught domestic science at Union Seminary right here in Columbus, Ohio. She published her first book of poetry at 20 and was one of the first African-American women to be published in the United States. Her collection Poems on Miscellaneous Subjects was a commercial success, making her the most popular African-American poet before Ohioan Paul Laurence Dunbar. In 1859, she published the first short story by a Black woman in the United States, Two Offers. These are just some of her accomplishments, literary and otherwise, and I'd invite everyone to read more about and by her. Bible Defense of Slavery. Take sackcloth of the darkest dye and shroud the pulpits round. Servants of him that cannot lie sit mourning on the ground. Let holy horror blanch each cheek, pale every brow with fears. And rocks and stones, if ye could speak, ye well might melt to tears. Let sorrow breathe in every tone, in every strain ye raise. Insult not God's majestic throne with the mockery of praise. A reverend man, whose light should be the guide of age and youth, brings to the shrine of slavery the sacrifice of truth. For the direst wrong by man imposed, since Sodom's fearful cry, the word of life has been unclosed to give your God the lie. Oh, when ye pray for heathen lands and plead for their dark shores, remember slavery's cruel hands make heathens at your doors. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Tracy Thornton, and I am reading from it's called the Tuesday Morning Encouragement. It's a collection of encouragements that I authored about a decade ago. This piece is called Broken Dolls. Charm is deceitful and beauty is vain, but a woman who fears the Lord, she shall be praised. Proverbs 31:30. Getting prepared for a road trip one day, I instructed my youngest daughter to gather up a few dolls to take with her for entertainment. Knowing that she has a full range of choices, I trusted she would pick up her most polished doll. Her hair would be in place, her clothes intact, and hopefully she'd have some cute little doll clothes with some shoes on too. Instead, she brought a dirty-faced doll with hair that looked matted, a raggedy basketball jersey outfit on, and she was missing a leg. Why did you pick her? I asked. Being the mother that I am, I tried to convince Jocelyn that she should leave that little broken doll down and bring another one that was more suitable, that reflected more of who she is, pretty, clean, and neat. Jocelyn's only defense was, because I love her, Mommy. She walked away to find another doll that I would like. She was disappointed and even a little confused. Now, if I'd ever felt the Holy Spirit before, I felt him that day. He felt like a slap upside my head. Jesus had once again used a child to demonstrate for us. his unconditional love for his broken dolls, the bruised dolls, the dirty dolls, the dolls who have been abused and even neglected, the dolls whose limbs were torn apart, left for dead, and all hope was given up on. The beautiful dolls on the outside who are yet struggling with confidence on the inside. Broken dolls. I'm ever so mindful now that before coming to Christ, I was broken, a sinner in need of a savior. I thank God for his compassion and his love for me. I'm so grateful that Jesus decided to take me on his road trip, even though I was a mess, all because he loves me. Needless to say, I let the little broken Barbie go on the trip with us. And I saw a manifestation of what the love of Jesus really looks like in the smiling face of my loving child. I'm going to ask you to do something. Encourage a woman today. Surely you know of a woman who's broken, in need of love. And I'm going to ask that you extend the love that Christ extended to you. Bless her with a card, a flower, or something special that lets her experience the manifestation of the love of Jesus through you. Because after all, one day, you were a broken doll too.
Hi, everybody. I'm Amanda Gratisek. I'm the chair of the English department. I'm going to read today an excerpt from called On Witness and Despair, A Personal Tragedy Followed by Pandemic. Her books, Salvage the Bones, Sing, Unburied Sing, and Men We Reaped, about the death of Black men in her community, are among my favorite recent works. In this essay, after she describes the death of her partner in early 2020, she begins to talk about writing and witnessing the rise of anti-racist activism. As the pandemic settled in and stretched, I set my alarms to wake early, and on mornings after nights where I actually slept, I woke and worked on my novel in progress. My commitment surprised me. Even in a pandemic, even in grief, I found myself commanded to amplify the voices of the dead that sing to me, from their boat to my boat on the sea of time. On most days, I wrote one sentence. Some days I wrote 1,000 words. Many days it and I seemed useless, all of it misguided endeavor. My grief bloomed as depression, just as it had after my brother died at 19, and I saw little sense, little purpose in this work, this solitary vocation. Me, sightless, wandering the wild, head thrown back, mouth wide open, singing to a star-drenched sky. Like all the speaking, singing women of old, a maligned figure in the wilderness. Few listened in the night. What resonated back to me, the emptiness between the stars, dark matter, cold. This is the belief that America fed fresh blood into for centuries. This belief that Black lives have the same value as a plow horse or a grizzled donkey. I knew this, my family knew this, my people knew this, and we forget it, but we were convinced we would fight this reality alone, fight until we could no more, until we were in the ground, bones moldering, headstones overgrown above in the world where our children and our children's children still fought, still yanked against the noose, the forearm, the starvation and redlining and rape and enslavement and murder and choked out. I can't breathe, they would say. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. I cried in wonder each time I saw protest around the world because I recognized the people. I recognized the way they zipped their hoodies, the way they raised their fists, the way they walked, the way they shouted. I recognized their action for what it was, witness. Even now, each day, they witness. They witness injustice. They witness this America, this country that gaslit us for 400 years. Witness that my state, Mississippi, waited until 2013 to ratify the 13th Amendment. Witness that Mississippi didn't remove the Confederate battle emblem from its state flag until 2020. Witness Black people, Indigenous people, so many poor brown people lying on beds in frigid hospitals, gasping our last breaths with COVID-riddled lungs, rendered flat by undiagnosed underlying conditions triggered by years of food deserts, stress, and poverty, lives spent snatching sweets so we could eat one delicious morsel, savor some sugar on the tongue, oh Lord, because the flavor of our lives is so often better. They witness our fight too, the quick jerk of our feet, see our hearts lurch to beat again in our art and music and work and joy. How revelatory that others witness our battles and stand up. They go out in the middle of a pandemic and they march. I sob, and the rivers of people run in the streets. Thank you.
Hello, and good afternoon. My name is Dave Kofer. Today I'm going to be reading the poem, Let America Be America Again by Langston Hughes. Written in 1935 and originally published in 1936, Hughes reflects on the aspiration of America while reminding us of a stark reality. The aspirational version of America feels both unfamiliar and out of reach to many Americans. 86 years later, and for many, this stark reality remains true. And yet we persevere, emboldened by faith, hope, and optimism. Let America be America again by Langston Hughes. Let America be America again. Let it be the dream it used to be. Let it be the pioneer on the plain, seeking a home where he himself is free. America never was America to me. Let America be the dream, the dreamer's dream. Let it be that great, strong land of love where never kings connive nor tyrants scheme, that any man be crushed by one above. It never was America to me. Oh, let my land be a land where liberty is crowned with no false patriotic wreath, but opportunity is real and life is free. Equality is in the air we breathe. There's never been equality for me, nor freedom in this homeland of the free. Say, who are you that mumbles in the dark? And who are you that draws your veil across the stars? I am the poor white fooled and pushed apart. I am the Negro bearing slavery's scars. I am the red man driven from the land. I am the immigrant clutching the hope I seek and finding only the same old stupid plan of dog eat dog, of mighty crush the weak. I am the young man full of strength and hope, tangled in that ancient endless chain of profit, power, gain, of grab the land, of grab the gold, of grab the ways of satisfying need, of work the men, of take the pay, of owning everything for one's own greed. I am the farmer, bondsman to the soil. I am the worker, sold to the machine. I am the Negro, servant to you all. I am the people, humble, hungry, mean, hungry yet today despite the dream. Beaten yet today, oh pioneers. I am the man who never had a head, the poorest worker bartered through the years. Yes, I'm the one who dreamt our basic dream in the old world while still a serf of kings, who dreamt a dream so strong, so brave, so true, that even yet its mighty daring sings in every brick and stone, in every furrow turned. That's made America the land it has become. Oh, I'm the man who sailed those early seas in search of what I meant to be my home. For I'm the one left dark Ireland's shore and Poland's plain and England's grassy lea, and torn from Black Africa's strand, I came to build a homeland of the free. The free? Who said the free? Not me, surely not me. The millions on relief today? The millions shot down when we strike? The millions who have nothing for our pay? For all the dreams we've dreamed and all the songs we've sung and all the hopes we've held and all the flags we've hung, the millions who have nothing for our pay except the dream that's almost dead today. Oh, let America be America again, the land that never has been yet, and yet must be the land where every man is free, the land that's mine, the poor man's, Indians, Negroes, me, who made America, whose sweat and blood, whose faith and pain, whose hand at the foundry, whose plow in the rain, must bring back our mighty dream again. Sure, call me any ugly name you choose, the steel of freedom does not stain from those who live like leeches on the people's lives. We must take back our land again, America. Oh yes, I say it plain, America never was America to me, and yet I swear this oath, America will be. Out of the rack and ruin of our gangster death, the rape and rot of graft and stealth and lies, we the people must redeem the land, the mines, the plants, the rivers, the mountains and the endless plain, all the stretches of these great green states, and make America again.
Hello, my name is Tasha Yarborough, and I am reading a piece by Hannah Quill. This piece was actually inspired by Juneteenth 2020, and we all know at Columbus State, Christopher Columbus statue was removed on that day. After the trauma, after the weight is lifted, the blood flows. Gauze and rags, the span width size of cotton fields, are needed to absorb the blood. Application of pressure is needed to prevent bleeding out to death. Yet we, full of hope, pray for a clean sever, a wound already cauterized from the racist branding iron, a wound already sealed from the complacence tourniquet too tight. The wound needs cleaned and disinfectant. The wound needs salve applied. Lord, for these things we pray. Rise, my people, rise. Rise, my people, rise. The massive weight has been lifted. The yoke is no longer upon our necks. Breathe, breathe, repeat, no breath, repeat, ask, repeat, protest, repeat, demand, repeat, riot, repeat, 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 resolution, relief, relief, exuberantly cheer. Today is our commencement. We raised our voices and demanded our long overdue penitence. Slowly and somberly receive our public repentance. Commence to commemorate. Commence to commemorate. Never forget the bloodshed. Never forget the tears shed. Never forget the transpiration behind the shed. Never forget the lineage lines shred. Always remember. Always remember January through December. Tishri to Allah. Today, this moment, this transcended time. June 19, 2020. 27 Sivan 5780. Celestial dates unknown, unspoken, unrecorded. Prayers to heavens to reconcile, restore, and renew. Continue to apply pressure. Continue to apply pressure to receive our commensurate compensation, our appropriate remuneration. Require our reparations. Demand your 40 acres and a mule, even in the face of annoyance, aggravation, and aggression. Escalation until resolution. The revolution will be televised. Commerce, commence to commerce. Commence to commerce. On land without payment, the price has already been paid in full with interest due. Stake our stock in every industry, both old and new. In counting our newly regained riches, remember to be kind to spirit, to be kind to humanity, to be kind to earth, to be kind to animal. In our victory, do not do them the way they did us. In this day made anew, commence to celebrate our victory. Commence to celebrate our victory. My people, the salt of the earth, gleefully, musically, rhythmically, commence to celebrate our victory. My people, the salt of the earth, unabashed, peacefully, eternally, breathe free. Breathe free. Rise, my people, rise. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. The piece that I'm going to read today is an original piece that I wrote about 2 weeks ago upon learning of the death of Cicely Tyson. If you don't know, Cicely Tyson was an actress, cultural icon, and queen. She has an amazing professional resume, but more than anything, she was unapologetically Black, and her love for Blackness influenced her work. Her loss is not just a loss to the entertainment community, but a loss to Black culture. So here's my tribute. To Miss Cicely Tyson. You were the epitome of elegance, style, and grace. An icon, a legend. You took pride in your race. 78 years ago, you arrived on the scene to dominate an industry undeserving of such a talented Black queen. For 96 years, you graced this earth, emanating and exuding every ounce of your God-given worth. Unapologetically Black, both outside and within, you affirmed our birthright to love and embrace our chocolate brown skin. To the world, you were a master of the arts, but to us, you were the queen of our hearts. Your work will live on for ages to come. Rest well, our dear queen, your labor is done. We will celebrate you forever, for there is no other who can take the place of you, Miss Cicely Tyson, our beloved Queen Mother. Thank you.
Wow. I don't know about the rest of you, but I am just overwhelmed. Thank you so much, Kimberly Connell. You bless us every single year with your original works. And that was just, I mean, every year you top it off. So thank you. We are over our time. And I just want to thank all of our readers today. Thank you for staying on task and all the affirmations in the chat room. Today's event was recorded, so if you want to go back and listen, you can do that. I'll try to get the information out as soon as possible about how to access the recording. Adina is asking if everyone could please turn off their cameras so that we could get the Zoom shot screen. But thank you, everybody. And we hope that you will join us again next year. It will always be the first week in February. Congratulations to all of our readers. You moved us, you inspired us, you made us laugh, you made us cry. And I hope everyone is just filled and overwhelmed. Thank you, thank you, thank you, and have a wonderful, wonderful Black History Month.
Adina, you want our cameras on for a picture? Is that what
Yes,
you're?
could everyone please turn on their camera so that I can take a picture of this? I'll be posting it on the Global Diversity and Inclusion Instagram. So just give me your biggest smiles. I would love that.
Are you gonna give us a countdown?
Yes, so I'm gonna have to do this in a couple because there's about 4 pages worth of people, but it's fine. So for the first round, on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, smile. All right, thank you. I'm switching over to the next page now. On a count of 3, 1, 2, and 3, smile. Thank you very much. And then for the last page, just one more big round of smiles. 1, 2, 3, smile. Yes, thank you all so much for participating today. This was my first year doing it, and honestly, you guys have made me feel things I have not felt in a while, so thank you so much.
And thank you to Adina. I just want to let you all know that Adina was working it behind the scenes. This could not have happened without her, so can we please give her a round of applause? Thank you also, Brett, for getting us all squared away with the RSVPs and the Zoom link and all of that. So as you all can see, it takes a team to make this happen, and we appreciate you both. Thank you, everyone. Anything else, Adina or Brett?
There is nothing else from me. If you guys want to see the photos that I've taken, just head over to the Global Diversity and Inclusion Instagram, and I will have them posted within the next hour. Thank you all.
Thank you.